Chapter 1 Introduction The Mask of Kindness. Imagine meeting someone who always seems to be on your side. They are helpful, supportive, and they make you feel special. Whenever you need something, they are the first to step in. They offer advice, they listen to your problems, and sometimes they even sacrifice their own comfort to make sure you are okay. At first glance, this person feels like the definition of a true friend, a caring partner, or maybe even a savior. But over time, something begins to feel strange. Their kindness never comes without a shadow. Each good deed carries a silent weight. Each act of generosity seems to create an invisible debt. You may not notice it at first, but eventually you begin to realize that every time they help you, they are also tightening a chain around you. This is the world of the kind manipulator. The kind manipulator doesn't scream, doesn't insult, doesn't openly abuse. Instead, they wrap their control in softness, in warmth, in gestures that seem harmless. They don't need aggression to dominate. Their power comes from guilt, from obligation, and from the way they make you feel that you owe them something. This form of manipulation is one of the most dangerous. Why? Because it is almost invisible. When someone yells at you or threatens you, you immediately recognize the abuse. But when someone cloaks control in kindness, your defenses drop. You believe they are only trying to help. And by the time you realize that their kindness has become a weapon, you may already be deeply entangled. In this episode, we will dive into the psychology of the kind manipulator. We will explore how they operate, why their tactics are effective, and most importantly, how to recognize and protect yourself from them. By the end of this journey, you will see that not all kindness is real. Sometimes, kindness is a mask, and behind that mask hides control, dependency, and manipulation. Chapter 2 Who is the kind manipulator? On the surface, the kind manipulator is one of the easiest people to like. They often appear charming, warm, and endlessly supportive. They may be a friend who always remembers your birthday, a coworker who offers to stay late to help you out, or even a partner who seems to put your needs above their own. They appear selfless. They appear loyal. They appear safe. But appearances deceive. A kind manipulator is not motivated by pure generosity. Their actions are strategic. Every favor, every sacrifice, every kind gesture is calculated. Their hidden goal is not to help you but to create leverage over you. The kind manipulator thrives on the principle of reciprocity. In human psychology, reciprocity is a powerful instinct. When someone gives us something, we feel compelled to give something back. This is normal in healthy relationships. Kindness breeds kindness. But the manipulator weaponizes this instinct. They build a mental ledger, a list of everything they've done for you, and they silently demand payment. They might never ask directly for something at first. Instead, they plant seeds. They might say things like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it, that's what friends are for. I stayed up late helping you, but it's fine, I'll catch up on sleep later. I don't mind sacrificing because you're worth it." At first, these words sound comforting, even touching. But later, when they want something from you, the mask slips. Suddenly, their kindness transforms into pressure. "After everything I've done for you, you can't even do this one thing for me. I was always there for you, and now you're abandoning me. I thought you appreciated me, but I guess I was wrong." The kind manipulator thrives in this gray zone. They rarely appear openly abusive. They don't yell, they don't threaten. Instead, they make you feel guilty. They want you to believe that refusing them is the same as betraying them. This makes the kind manipulator particularly dangerous in relationships. Unlike overt abusers, they can maintain their disguise for years. Friends may even admire them. To outsiders, they look like the perfect partner, the selfless friend, or the dedicated parent. The victim, meanwhile, slowly drowns in obligations, unable to explain why they feel trapped by someone who only does good things. In truth, the kind manipulator is not motivated by love or generosity. They are motivated by power. Control is their currency and kindness is their camouflage. Chapter 3 The Psychology Behind the Mask. To understand the kind manipulator, we need to look deeper into the psychology that drives them. What makes a person choose kindness as a weapon rather than a gift? Why do they hide behind a mask instead of showing their true intentions? The answer lies in a mixture of insecurity, desire for control, and an unconscious reliance on one of the oldest rules of human behavior. Guilt is power. 1. The need for control. At the heart of every manipulator lies a hunger for control. Some people achieve it through intimidation, others through authority, and some through charm. The kind manipulator learns early on that open aggression is risky. It creates resistance. People push back against force, they resist threats, and they escape when oppression becomes too obvious. But kindness is different. When control comes disguised as generosity, it bypasses defenses, who would fight against a friend who just wants the best for you. For the manipulator, kindness is the safest path to power. 2. The fear of rejection. Many kind manipulators are not strong enough to face open rejection. They fear being disliked or abandoned. If they tried to dominate through aggression, they would risk losing the relationship. So they construct a safer strategy: they give first, then demand later. This way, they appear indispensable, making rejection feel impossible. In a sense, they create a trap. If you leave me, you are ungrateful. If you refuse me, you are cruel. The manipulator does not say these words out loud, but they echo in the victim's mind. 3. The exploitation of guilt. Psychologists have long studied the role of guilt in human relationships. Guilt is a powerful motivator. It makes us act against our own desires to restore balance. The kind manipulator understands this instinct intuitively. They design every act of kindness as an investment in your guilt account. Later, when they need to control you, they simply cash out. The brilliance and the danger of this tactic is that the victim often does not realize what is happening. They just feel guilty, pressured, or obligated. It feels natural to give in because, after all, this person has done so much for me. 4. The false self-image. Another psychological layer is the manipulator's need to see themselves as good. Unlike overt abusers who may embrace cruelty, the kind manipulator clings to the illusion that they are virtuous. They tell themselves, "I am a caring person, I help others, I sacrifice." But beneath this image lies the truth: they help not out of compassion but out of strategy. This self-deception is part of what makes them convincing. They may even believe their own story, that they are only acting out of love. But if you look closely, their kindness always leads to one destination: control. 5. The long game. The kind manipulator is patient. They don't expect immediate results. They plant seeds and wait. A small favor here, a sacrifice there, a reminder later. They build a foundation of obligations over time until the victim cannot see where the genuine friendship ends and the manipulation begins. By the time the mask starts to slip, the victim is already caught. And because the manipulator has built their power on guilt and obligation, it is much harder for the victim to break free than if they were facing open hostility. Chapter 4: Historical and Cultural Examples. The figure of the kind manipulator is not new. In fact, history and culture are filled with examples of individuals, leaders, and even entire institutions that used apparent kindness as a tool of control. The faces and methods may have changed over time, but the strategy remains the same: generosity as bait, obligation as chains. 1. In families. One of the most common places where kind manipulation appears is within families. Parents often use sacrifice as a tool of control. They may remind their children, "I gave you life, I sacrificed everything for you, and this is how you repay me." On the surface, this looks like love and dedication. But in practice, it becomes a weapon that chains children to guilt, making them feel unworthy if they pursue their own path. In some cultures, this style of manipulation is normalized. Children are expected to carry the weight of their parents' sacrifices for the rest of their lives. Gratitude becomes a duty, not a choice. 2. In relationships. Romantic partners sometimes adopt the role of the selfless giver. They shower their partner with gifts, attention, and constant help. But hidden beneath the surface is a demand: loyalty, obedience, or sacrifice in return. They might say things like, "I've done everything for you, and you can't even. Nobody will ever love you the way I do, because nobody else would sacrifice so much." These words sound affectionate at first, but they are traps. They transform love into a debt that can never truly be repaid. 3. In religion and belief systems. Throughout history, religious and political leaders have often used the idea of sacrifice and care as a mechanism for control. A leader presents themselves as the protector, the one who suffers and sacrifices for the people. In return, the people are expected to obey, submit, or remain loyal. For example, in some traditions, followers are reminded constantly of the sacrifices made on their behalf. Gratitude becomes not just a feeling but an obligation to serve, donate, or obey without question. The message is clear: we gave everything for you, now it's your turn to give everything for us. 4. In politics and leadership. Leaders in politics often craft an image of being for the people. They show symbolic acts of care. visiting hospitals, donating to charities, making emotional speeches about their sacrifices for the nation. But these actions are rarely free of calculation. They are tools to generate loyalty, guilt, and obligation in citizens. The phrase, "I work day and night for you," sounds noble, but hidden within is a demand. Therefore, you owe me your support. 5. In literature and storytelling. Even in fiction, the archetype of the kind manipulator appears. Characters who present themselves as mentors, guides, or guardians often reveal a darker side. They help not for love but for control. Think of the mentor who withholds freedom in exchange for their guidance, or the benefactor who constantly reminds the hero of their generosity. These figures resonate because they reflect a truth we all recognize: kindness can be used as a mask. From families to politics, from personal relationships to entire societies, the pattern is the same. The kind manipulator thrives in spaces where gratitude is sacred, where sacrifice is glorified, and where kindness can be turned into obligation. It is no wonder that this form of manipulation is so powerful. It is woven into the very fabric of culture and history. Chapter 5: The Tactics of a Kind Manipulator. The kind manipulator is not impulsive. They do not rely on sudden bursts of aggression or obvious control. Instead, they carefully build their influence through subtle and calculated tactics. Each tactic is designed to appear harmless on the surface, but beneath it lies the same goal: to bind you with guilt, obligation, and emotional debt. Let's break down their most common methods. 1. The debt trap. This is the manipulator's favorite tool. They give you something, their time, their effort, their money, and silently keep a record. Later, they bring it up as proof that you owe them. Example: remember when I stayed up all night helping you with your project? Now I really need you to do this for me. The unspoken rule is clear: nothing they do is ever free. 2. The martyr complex. A manipulator often portrays themselves as a victim of their own generosity. They will exaggerate their sacrifices to make you feel guilty for not doing enough in return. Example: I gave up so much for you, I never think about myself, only about you, and this is how you repay me. This tactic is powerful because it makes you feel selfish, even if you are simply setting boundaries. 3. The comparison game. They may compare your actions to those of others to make you feel inadequate. Example: other people appreciate me, why can't you? Or look at how much your sister cares, I guess I can't expect the same from you. The goal here is to trigger insecurity and push you to prove your worth through compliance. 4. Conditional kindness. Real kindness expects nothing in return. Manipulative kindness, however, always has strings attached. The manipulator will make sure you understand that their support comes with conditions, even if those conditions are never stated directly. Example: I'll help you, but I hope you won't forget about me later. The favor is a transaction, and you are expected to pay later. 5. The public reminder. Sometimes, the manipulator will highlight their sacrifices in front of others. This not only pressures you but also creates social obligation. You don't want to appear ungrateful in front of an audience. Example: I was the one who always helped her when no one else did. The reminder is not about recognition, it's about tightening the leash. 6. The guilt anchor. One of the most dangerous tactics is creating situations where you feel permanently guilty. Even small acts of kindness are turned into lifelong debts. Example: if it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be where you are today. With this tactic, no matter how much you give back, it's never enough. You are forever in the red. 7. The selfless image. The manipulator constantly emphasizes how much they sacrifice. They present themselves as endlessly patient, caring, and giving, but this is a performance. It is a script designed to make you believe that refusing them would be cruel. Example: I never ask for anything, I just give and give. Ironically, this very statement is the hidden demand. 8. The silent punishment. When kindness fails to produce results, the manipulator may withdraw affection, go silent, or act cold. This passive-aggressive silence is meant to remind you that you broke the unspoken contract. They don't need to yell, your guilt will do the work for them. Example: you say no once and suddenly they stop calling, stop smiling, stop offering support. The message is clear: comply or lose me. Together, these tactics create a web of obligation. Each thread by itself might seem harmless, just a favor, just a reminder, just a comment. But when woven together, the victim becomes trapped. They begin to feel that everything they do is never enough and that without the manipulator they would be lost. The genius of the kind manipulator is not in any single tactic, but in the combination of them all. Over time, their victim stops questioning and simply obeys, and all of it is achieved without a single shout, threat, or raised hand. Chapter 6: The Victims: Why Some People Get Trapped. Not everyone falls under the spell of a kind manipulator. Some people notice the patterns quickly, set boundaries, and walk away. But others, often good, empathetic, or vulnerable people, can remain trapped for years. To understand why, we need to look at the psychology of the victim. 1. The empathetic personality. Ironically, those who are the kindest themselves are often the easiest targets. Empathetic people naturally put others first. They don't want to hurt anyone and they deeply value gratitude and reciprocity. When someone gives them something, they feel an almost overwhelming obligation to give back. A manipulator recognizes this and exploits it. They see empathy not as a virtue but as a weakness. They know that if they give just enough, their victim will bend over backwards to repay them, even when repayment means self-sacrifice. 2. The fear of conflict. Some victims avoid confrontation at all costs. They may have grown up in environments where saying no led to punishment, rejection, or shame. As adults, they feel safer pleasing others than asserting themselves. For these individuals, the manipulator's kindness feels like a trap with no escape. Refusing would feel like betrayal, and so they comply. The manipulator thrives on this avoidance, knowing that guilt plus conflict avoidance equals obedience. 3. Low self-esteem. Victims with fragile self-worth often believe they don't deserve unconditional love. When someone showers them with kindness, even if manipulative, they cling to it desperately. They think, at least someone cares for me even if it comes at a price. The manipulator reinforces this belief by suggesting, subtly or directly, that no one else would ever sacrifice so much for them. Over time, the victim begins to see the manipulator not as a burden but as their only lifeline. 4. Cultural and social conditioning. In many societies, gratitude is deeply ingrained as a duty. Children are raised to repay parents, partners are taught to sacrifice endlessly, and loyalty is framed as the highest virtue. In such environments, manipulation through kindness is particularly effective because the victim doesn't even realize it's manipulation. They think it's normal. A daughter may feel obligated to obey her parents for life because they sacrificed everything. A partner may stay in a toxic relationship because no one else would do so much. In cultures where gratitude is weaponized, the manipulator doesn't even need to explain themselves, society does it for them. 5. The desire to belong. Human beings are social creatures. We crave connection, validation, and love. The kind manipulator knows this. By presenting themselves as endlessly giving, they create the illusion of a bond that feels unbreakable. Victims stay because they fear loneliness more than manipulation. They think, even if I feel trapped, at least I am not alone. This fear of isolation makes them tolerate guilt and control, as though emotional debt is the price of companionship. 6. The invisible chains. The scariest part of kind manipulation is that the victim often doesn't recognize it as abuse. They feel drained, guilty, and controlled, but when they try to explain it, others may not understand. Outsiders might say, "But he's so nice to you, you're lucky to have someone like that." This lack of validation keeps victims silent. They doubt themselves, wondering if they are the problem, if they are simply ungrateful. The manipulator reinforces this doubt, whispering, directly or indirectly, that the victim owes everything to them. In the end, victims of kind manipulators are not weak. They are often people with deep empathy, strong loyalty, and genuine hearts. Their tragedy is not that they are broken, but that their best qualities have been twisted into chains. And until they learn to see the mask for what it is, they will remain trapped, believing that manipulation is kindness and that freedom is betrayal. Chapter 7: How to Recognize a Kind Manipulator. The power of a kind manipulator lies in their disguise. They don't shout, threaten, or intimidate, at least not openly. Instead, they smile, give, and pretend to care. But beneath this mask of generosity lies control. The key to protecting yourself is learning to recognize the subtle warning signs. 1. Their help comes with strings. A genuine person offers help without expecting anything in return. A manipulator, however, may say, "Remember how much I've done for you. After everything I sacrificed, you can't even do this small thing." Their kindness is never free. It's an investment not in you but in their future control over you. 2. Excessive sacrifice. At first, their generosity might feel overwhelming. They insist on helping you even when you didn't ask for it. They go out of their way to prove their devotion. But notice carefully, their sacrifices are often exaggerated or unnecessary. They might refuse to let you solve your own problems, insisting that only they can help. This creates a dynamic where you feel dependent on them even when you're not. 3. The guilt trap. Whenever you try to assert independence, they make you feel guilty. It may sound like, "I stayed up all night just to help you. I put you first. But you don't care about me." This constant guilt tripping keeps you compliant. Every act of kindness becomes a debt you can never fully repay. 4. Subtle isolation. A manipulator doesn't always isolate you directly. Instead, they make you feel that no one else will ever care as much as they do. They may criticize your friends or hint that others are less loyal. Over time, you start to believe them and distance yourself from people who could help you see the truth. Isolation doesn't always look like chains. Sometimes it looks like one person convincing you that they are your only safe place. 5. Inconsistent kindness. A genuine friend is steady. A manipulator, however, alternates between warmth and withdrawal. One day they shower you with affection. The next day they act cold or disappointed. This push and pull dynamic makes you desperate to win back their approval. This emotional roller coaster keeps you hooked. You crave their kindness because they've made it scarce. 6. Overemphasis on loyalty. They constantly remind you how loyal they are and expect the same in return. They use phrases like, "I'm the only one who's always here for you." Real friends stick together no matter what. What sounds like devotion is really a demand, unconditional obedience even when it harms you. 7. Your feelings don't matter. The ultimate test: when you express discomfort or ask for space, how do they react? A genuine person respects your boundaries. A manipulator reacts with hurt, disappointment, or anger. They flip the script so you feel guilty for even trying to take care of yourself. 8. Your energy tells the truth. Sometimes the clearest sign is not in what they do but in how you feel. After spending time with them, do you feel uplifted or drained, energized or guilty, supported or indebted? Your emotions are like warning lights. If you leave every interaction feeling like you owe them something, you are not in a relationship of kindness. You are in a relationship of control. Conclusion. A kind manipulator doesn't look like an enemy. They look like a friend, a partner, or even a savior. But once you learn to recognize these patterns, the mask begins to crack. And when you see the truth, their power over you starts to disappear. Chapter 8. The psychological tactics they use. The kind manipulator does not control with chains or threats. Their power comes from the mind, from subtle tactics that play on human psychology. By understanding these tactics, you can begin to see through their disguise. 1. The reciprocity trap. Human beings are wired to return favors. If someone gives us something, we feel obligated to give back. Manipulators exploit this instinct by doing favors that are bigger than necessary, knowing you'll feel guilty until you repay them. Example: they insist on paying for everything even when you resist. Later, when they ask you for a huge favor, you hesitate to say no because you owe them. 2. Gaslighting through kindness. Most people know gaslighting as denial, lies, and rewriting reality. But there is a softer version when manipulators use kindness to distort your perception. They might say, "I'm only doing this because I care about you. No one else would sacrifice this much for you." By framing control as love, they make you question whether your discomfort is valid. You begin to think the problem is your ingratitude, not their manipulation. 3. Love bombing. This is an overwhelming flood of attention and generosity. At first, it feels intoxicating, endless compliments, gifts, and selfless acts, but love bombing isn't about love, it's about creating dependency. Once you're hooked, the manipulator slowly withdraws their affection. Now you crave it, chasing after the kindness that first drew you in. 4. Silent resentment. Unlike open aggressors, kind manipulators often use silence as a weapon. They withdraw affection, act disappointed, or play the victim. You end up apologizing or compensating just to bring back the harmony. This silent punishment is powerful because it makes you responsible for their moods. 5. Guilt as currency. The manipulator's favorite tool is guilt. They remind you of their sacrifices, exaggerate their struggles, and subtly compare your efforts to theirs. The unspoken message is always, you are not doing enough. Over time, you live under a constant cloud of obligation, never able to catch up to the debt they've created. 6. Triangulation of kindness. Sometimes, manipulators involve others to strengthen their control. They may perform public acts of generosity so that outsiders admire them. If you complain, others might say, "But they're so good to you, why are you being ungrateful?" This isolates you further because not only do you feel guilty, but now you also look like the selfish one in other people's eyes. 7. Creating dependence. One of their most dangerous tactics is making you believe you cannot survive without them. They step in to solve problems you could handle yourself, always reminding you that you need them. Gradually, your confidence erodes. You stop trusting yourself and start relying on them for everything. This dependency makes it harder and harder to break free. 8. The illusion of choice. Sometimes manipulators let you choose, but the options are designed so that you'll pick what benefits them. For example, "I can do it for you, unless you'd rather struggle alone." This way, you feel like you're making your own decision, when in reality the outcome was predetermined. Conclusion. The tactics of the kind manipulator are invisible chains. They are not brutal or loud, they are soft, patient, and disguised as love. But once you learn these tricks, you begin to see the pattern. And the moment you name the tactic, their spell begins to break. Chapter 9. Real-life examples and stories. Sometimes abstract concepts are easier to understand through stories. Let's explore how the kind manipulator operates in everyday life, at home, in relationships, and at work. 1. The overly sacrificial parent. A mother works tirelessly for her son, constantly reminding him, "I gave up my whole life for you. After everything I've sacrificed, how could you choose your own happiness over me?" Her kindness is real, she did provide food, care, and stability, but the hidden message is control. The son must now live according to her wishes. If he chooses his own path, he feels like a traitor. What looks like love is actually a lifelong debt. 2. The perfect friend. Sarah has a friend, Emily, who is always there for her. Emily pays for dinners, helps Sarah move apartments, and offers support at every crisis. But when Sarah once declined an invitation, Emily snapped, "Wow, after everything I've done for you, you can't even spend one evening with me." The pattern reveals itself. Emily's friendship is conditional. Every act of kindness was an investment, and Sarah was expected to repay it with loyalty and obedience. 3. The generous partner. David starts dating a woman who showers him with affection and gifts. She cooks his favorite meals, buys him clothes, and tells everyone how much she does for him. At first, David feels lucky. But soon the tone changes. When David spends time with friends, she says, "I stay home cooking for you, and this is how you repay me." Other girlfriends would never sacrifice this much. Her generosity becomes a chain. David feels guilty leaving her side, and gradually his independence disappears. 4. The helpful colleague. At work, John has a colleague who is always volunteering to cover shifts, fix mistakes, or handle extra tasks. Everyone praises this person as the kindest coworker. But behind the scenes, the coworker keeps score. Later, when John refuses to do a favor, he hears, "Remember when I stayed late for you 3 times, you owe me." The kindness wasn't genuine, it was leverage. What looked like teamwork was really a strategy for power. 5. The public hero. Sometimes, manipulators make their generosity very visible. They donate to charities, help neighbors, or post about their sacrifices online. To the outside world, they appear saintly. But in private, they use this reputation to silence their victims. If a partner or child dares to complain, others quickly dismiss them. "How could you say that? They're such a good person." The victim becomes trapped not only by guilt but also by public opinion. The manipulator has built a wall of kindness that makes their control untouchable. 6. The invisible cost. What unites all these examples is the invisible price tag attached to kindness.